welcome back to another faction focus, and today we are looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly of the new Necron Codex. Dun dun dun.
Dun 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 dun. And
Now,
that's enough of that because copyright.
we're going to give Chef a bit more license to lead this one because this is his baby. It's his favourite army.
I mean, I'd probably put it up there. The thing is, I like most armies.
Yeah, but this is your favourite.
Well, this is. It has a special place in my heart because it's the first army that I used on the channel.
There you go.
So, you know.
So, and that's what got you your nickname, the pastry chef, because you used to use flying croissants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to them. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Yeah, look, I'm incredibly pleased with this book. I will throw this out there now. Yes, we are playtesters for the 9th edition codexes. Yes, we did get this book. We arrived very late in the process to this one. There was a lot of stuff that we gave feedback on, which wasn't listened to. There was a lot of stuff that was listened to. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another. Now, the things that we weren't listened on, I won't go into too much detail on because I'm not sure what we're actually allowed to say and whatnot. But suffice it to say, the vast majority of this book I'm very pleased with. There are a few little issues, but that's always going to be the case, and we will delve into them as we go. But
yes.
For the most part, like I say, there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Yeah, Necrons feel viable again.
Yes. And I think that's kind of the best entry point for the good section is they feel viable.
Yeah.
They feel like they've got a lot more options in what you can run. You don't have to run the Doom list anymore of 3 Doomsday Arcs and 3 Doom size, which was, sort of the competitive thing. You don't, warriors are seeing a place now.
Yeah.
People are interested in what the Necrons can do and what sort of tricks they can pull out, and they're quite a tricksy army. Now, I think that the way to sort of look at it is not, oh, well, this is building on. If you take the Space Marine Codex, that was building upon the 7th or the 8th edition Codex version 1 and the 8th edition Codex version 2. This is not building on the previous Codex at all. It has literally woken up. Think of this as the Silent King.
It's the Tomb World.
He has woken up, seen what the 8th edition Codex did, and just go, start again. And that's kind of how you've got to go into it, is looking at it as going, this isn't building upon the previous book. This isn't like a enhancement or an improvement of the previous book. This is completely new from the ground up redesign. And I am all for it because it's just a bit more interesting. And like I say, there's stuff that I'm looking at now going like, yeah, I want to run all of these weird, wacky, wonderful things. And yeah, it's just the book as a whole feels a lot more, ironically, it has more life to it.
Yeah, which is quite, well, no, not really, because I mean, they resurrect.
Ha 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 ha. So they are for me, they feel like a more interesting army to play with and to play against.
I would agree with that, having played against them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that game was far more interesting. They had far more answers to the blistering firepower that was being rained down upon you.
And I know we got a lot of comments on that game, guys, in regards to, reanimation protocols are rubbish and, they didn't have the firepower to deal with anything. And I will get to some of this stuff, have no fear. However, that's one game. You've got to get the book and try it out for yourself. Like there was literally a comment that I read today of a guy saying he's just going to sell his entire army. It's like, you don't have the book yet, dude.
Yeah.
Like, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Like, I know you've seen some leaks, and I know we're talking about it literally to you guys right now, but hold on and try some stuff out first. There were people saying that at the beginning of 8th edition.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's it. I'm just going to sell my entire army because 8th edition has ruined the game for me. Well, I think a lot of people will disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Because, so it's, change is difficult. I respect that. I appreciate it, but you've got to give it a chance. If you play some games with it and it's just really, really not sort of ticking your boxes, I get it. But don't sort of throw in the towel before you've even gotten into the ring. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, get in that ring.
Yeah.
Fight for what you need.
And I do get it. And there are going to be some things that I sort of get to with some of the comments that were raised. But for the most part, your toolkit's better, your unit variety's better, and that is kind of really exemplified with what I mentioned earlier, with warriors. When was the last time you ever saw warriors being used outside of like, I'm going to take these for fun, lol?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It was always immortals. Now, I still lean towards immortals, I think. I just think immortals pip them ever so slightly for a couple of reasons. And that's the higher toughness is just so good. The better save is just so good. Your basic gun is obviously better, and you have that extra attack, which admittedly I forgot about in our last game. You know, for only 4 points more for your Gauls version, a bit more if you're going Tesla. The attack is a bit more important because the game, you want to be shifting people off of objectives, and melee is very, very present. Remember, melee was dead at the beginning of 9th edition? Please.
Yeah, Gooses.
So I think they just bring a little bit more, and I get why people like the warriors, and I think they definitely do have a place. I'm just leaning towards the immortals a little bit more, but that's not a bad thing at all, because now I look at both of my troops choices and go, yeah, I have options now. This is good. I can run blobs of 20 warriors. Like, people are talking about going, I'm going to go old school and just run 80 warriors and some characters, and yes, that's cool.
Great.
You know, and you just play the objective game. I would like a mix, so I'm going to keep practicing with a mix, but they're both really, really solid. And obviously, as one wound guys, they benefit the most from reanimation protocols, which we're going to get to. The next is the Lich Guard and the Triarch Praetorians, sort of, but you 2 wound elite. Well, I think Triarch Praetorians came out incredibly well. Sure, they don't get the Dynasty, but they're damage 2 now.
Yeah, which is nice.
They got the extra attack.
Yeah, which is nice.
Oh, they're really good. They're really good.
It's a shame they didn't get the Dynasty, but I get fluff-wise why they didn't.
Yeah, I understand why they didn't, and you can still buff them if you're taking the big boy himself.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing that I will say about the Triarch Praetorians, I think the rods are just going to be the go-to, because the rods give you, I think there's still only the 1 shot with the rod.
Didn't there used to be Assault 2? Or am I making that
I
up?
think there is Assault, I think they were always Assault 1, and I think they're still Assault 1. Yeah, so they're Assault 1, there's still only a 12-inch range, Strength 5 minus 3, but 2 damage, and with your free attacks, it's Strength 5 minus 3 and 2 damage in combat. They can really blitz through stuff, and they've got a stratagem to give them +1 to hit as well.
Yeah, which is nice.
So that kind of offsets them not getting like sort of certain bonuses. But they still have command protocols. So if you've got a character nearby, they're going to be buffed up.
Yep.
You know, they've got 10-inch move. They fly, like, and they're cheap. They're only 25 points. Like, a unit of 5 or 6 of them just rocking around to go character hunting is actually a pretty big threat for your opponent.
Yeah.
My only issue is the rod is just so much better than the caster and the void blade. The void blade gets an extra attack, but loses the damage.
So it's just damage 1.
So it's just damage 1. So you've got 4 attacks at strength 5 minus 3, damage 1, versus 3 attacks at strength 5 minus 3, damage 2. I think the damage 2 is just better.
Yeah, especially given where we're at with stuff.
And you're shooting, okay, it's a pistol, so you can fire it into combat, which is, you know, it's nifty. But strength 6, 8, no AP, damage 1. It's still a 12-inch range. Now, if they had like a really clearly defined role and sort of, oh yeah, the particle caster was 3 shots, so they go, actually, each of these guys is firing off 3 strength 6 shots and then going in with 4 strength 5 attacks, you'd be like, they're a horde blender. As it is, they just don't feel like they do enough over the rods. I think the rods are a real winner. And sort of almost the same with the Lich Guard. I love War Scythes. I think War Scythe equipped Lich Guard are amazing.
Yes.
I just think the shields are a little bit better.
Well, you're getting that save, which is just
it's the
so
2 up,
good.
4 up.
It's 2 up, 4 up is amazing.
And that's ironically the opposite of the Triarch Praetorians. I will happily lose the damage 2 and the higher strength because I'm still AP free. I've still got 3 attacks, probably more if I'm using stratagems on them and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll just go, yeah, I'm going to survive. And obviously they have different roles. You can stick a bunch of Lich Guard with War Scythes into a Night Scythe, drop them off and just go choppy. But I just think the overall usage of the Lich Guard will be for defensive and, you know, sort of that mid-board control, which they are really good at. And again, they're quite cheap for their points. And at 2 wounds a model, they benefit perhaps more than others with reanimation protocols. You can still reliably lose a couple and bring a couple back. You know, so they get kind of almost the best of all worlds, really. They've got the living metal, so leaving one on 1 wound is just meaningless because next turn it's going to heal up. They've got reanimation protocols, and they're a decent enough sort of wound size that you can make the most of it. And they're I think they're pretty aggressively costed.
Yeah.
So, you know, they will definitely see a lot of use in a lot of armies. Now, on the melee front, I think Scorpex are going to be really good.
Yeah.
They were already good in the Indomitus box when you could only run 3 of them. Now you can run 6, and they got cheaper. Yes. Yes. Hurry up, Rob. I wish to run 18 of them. Yeah, look, I think they fill a role that they needed, which is a heavy, high damage, high output, high strength unit. And this is kind of where I go, if I'm going to run a combat unit that wants to inflict damage, I'll take Scorpex over perhaps the Lich Guard. They've got a similar amount of attacks, a little bit less strength over the War Scythes and the Hyperface Swords, because they give you the +1 as well.
Sure.
So you are going at low strength, but you've got like high AP, you've got flat damage 2, you can buff them up with the Canoptic guy, you're re-rolling ones to hit naturally. If you've got the Lord nearby, you're re-rolling ones to wound. And they're also tough because they've got a defensive stratagem. I think it's Whirling Onslaught. They're -1 to wound.
Which is great.
And you can use
-1 to wound is
so good. It's so good.
So good.
So you can use that in shooting and in combat.
Yeah, that's great.
So you just go, like, I'm going to shoot you with my lasers now. I'll just cut them out of the air somehow.
Whatever.
You know, it's just like, don't question me. Necron tech.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
I cut lasers out of the air.
So, you know, at that point, you kind of go, 6s to wound with bolt guns.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... Yes, reanimation is difficult for them. However, and I'm going to come back to reanimation. I'm going to throw this out there now. It's an ugly, guys, and I'll explain why. But the fact that it's still there is something your opponent cannot ignore. So they have to be very cagey with their shooting. Previously, with reanimation protocols, you just go, I will just nuke the unit, delete it, and then I never have to worry about it again. Now your opponent almost has to go, right, I want to pick away at you. I want to chip away and do like 1 casualty at a time to prevent your reanimation protocols, which means that they're going to split fire, which is incredibly risky. And I say that as someone who split fires all the time. So I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to go, okay, well, you've got a unit of Scorpex, a unit of Lich Guard, and a unit of Immortals on an objective. They're all toughness 5, which is incredible. Here's my unit of Intercessors. I mean, if I shoot at that unit of Immortals, I might kill 3 of them and then maybe 1 stands back up. Or I could split fire, and if I get really lucky, I'll kill 1 from each unit or 2 from each unit, and it'll, you know, I'll kill 1 Scorpec and 1 Lich Guard and 2 Immortals, and none of them will come back. Yeah, but what if you don't? Like, what if you just go, oh, I left a guy on 1 wound and I've kind of wasted that firepower? Like, I think Reanimation Protocols is good, but I have stuck it in the ugly because of the division it's causing.
Right.
So we'll get to that later. But Scorpex, I think, are amazing. The only downside with Scorpex is they're an elite slot, and that is a hotly contested area. Fortunately, you've got lots of slots, because one of them is going to be a Catan. Specifically the named Catan. Oh, baby.
They are scary good.
Yeah.
Scary good.
I have made an internal decision to not bring a Catan when we're playing against your Tau.
Good.
Because it's literally impossible for you to kill him in a 5-turn game.
Yep.
Unless you do some wounds on Overwatch, which is, you know, not outside of the realm of possibility with Tau.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to do it.
no. Don't listen.
And even
We're doing
then,
good, bad, the ugly of the Necrons. Don't start me on Tau now, please. Okay.
look, they are just incredibly solid. They are such a massive threat that your opponent has to deal with them, but they need to divert multiple phases of the game to dealing with them. If you just want to kill them by shooting, it will take all game to kill them. Literally all 5 turns, because they have living metal. And let's say you have first turn and you do your 3 wounds. Cool, I've gone down to 6 at the start of my turn. I go up to 7. You then do another 3 wounds in the shooting phase. You go down to 4, I go up to 5. You do your next 3, I go down to 2, I'm up to... It's now turn 4. And that's assuming that you're doing your 3 wounds every turn.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to do that with small arms firepower, or are you going to do that with your big ones? Which might be then wasted, because you kind of go, right, well, I'm going to fire a couple of las cannons at him and hope I get lucky. I'll fire 1 las cannon and hope I get lucky, and fire the other 3 Doomsday Arc. Well, what if that leaves that Doomsday Arc on a couple of wounds? Again, they provide a lot of difficult options. This is why I really like the Necrons, because they're forcing your opponent to make difficult choices just by virtue of existing. Not to mention the fact that the Katana are absolute literal monsters in combat. Plus their powers, plus all that stuff. I mean, again, leaks and whatnot, guys, the Nightbringer can one-shot pretty much everything in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he should. He's literally part of a god. You know, I remember back in 3rd edition Necrons when someone put down the Nightbringer, and this was when you would play 1,500-point games, and the Nightbringer was 360 points.
Yeah.
And you just kind of went, oh, that's a lot of points. Oh my gosh, what's he doing? And he would just walk through stuff. And they can kind of still do that. I think they're a really, really solid unit. Are you going to see multiple of them? Probably not, because at 350 points each, they're really expensive.
You could, though.
Yes.
You have 2 of them and just all of the warriors that you could fit into a list.
You have to take multiple detachments, but you know what?
Fine.
Take a couple of patrols and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yep. And on the subject of Catan, given that he is powered by one, the Silent King himself.
This model scares me.
I mean, he should. He is literally an entire page of rules by himself.
Yeah.
He does everything, and he does everything well. You know, he is just... I mean, he's just insane.
Yeah.
I mean, you pay the points for him. He is 450 points. Like, man, it's pricey.
Yeah.
But he's giving you reroll hits for shooting. He's giving you reroll wounds in combat. He's denying stuff. You have to fight last if you're in range of him. He gives you the ability to change your protocols. He has a flat 6 damage super duper laser gun twice. He has like 13 attacks in combat of various, like, he's just insane.
He's how many points?
450.
450, right, okay.
But
I've been playing Knights today and I listened to that and it really stresses me out.
Yeah, I know. Like, he just does such a huge amount. Like, such a huge amount. Now, there is a little bit of a, not concern, like, but it's just, I want to, because there's a bit of a confliction with him, and that's because he has the Dynastic Agent keyword, which means that he never gains a dynastic code, but he also has the Caesarican keyword, which is his own dynasty. It would be kind of weird for him not to have his own dynasty keyword. So you kind of go, well, does he have, I mean, I don't know. Like, do you play him with the Dynastic Agent keyword sort of as the precedent, and therefore he doesn't get his own faction keyword of the 5-up shrugs against mortal wounds?
Do they do that so you can take him in different...
Yeah, they do it so that you can take him in another army without them removing all the other little benefits that they get.
Right. But if he's in his own, you would think that he would get...
Yeah, he wouldn't suddenly go, I've forgotten how to be in my own. So I'm not really sure on that one. That's a bit of a contentious issue. I think I would sort of be inclined to say, well, no, his faction keywords are Necrons and Caesarican, so he has the Caesarican Dynasty faction keyword, which means he gets the Dynastic code.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, would overrule Dynastic Agent, because the whole point of the Dynastic Agents is they don't have a Dynasty keyword. That's why you can include them in any faction and not get the Dynastic code. I don't know. Does it make him a bit much if he gets it? I don't. Rerolling a wound to phase is nice. It's more about he would then get the 5-up shrug against mortal wounds, which is one of his going to be main weaknesses. I don't know. We'll need to probably wait on an FAQ for that one, guys, but I would be inclined to say yes, he would get it, because that would be like turning around and going, you can include Bobby G in an Imperium detachment and not take away stuff because he's a Supreme Commander, but he forgets how to be an Ultramarine.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It just needs a clarification.
Yeah, it just needs something. And best part is even if you, this is just my favourite thing, if you kill him in combat, he explodes on a 4+, but there's a stratagem to make your vehicles auto explode for 1 CP. And it's D6 mortal wounds in a 2D6 range, which is because his Catan on his throne. Look, he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I love him to pieces. I think he's amazing. I love the model.
Do you think he's a bit cheap?
Given what...
you've just said to me?
Given what I've just said to you, no. Because he can be dealt with. Like, he is only toughness 7 only, with essentially 26 wounds and a 4-up invuln.
Right.
Concentrated firepower will kill. Now... what I imagine will be a frustrating thing is because he's 16 wounds, he can be obscured and he can get dense.
Right.
Because it's his 2 menhirs, which are effectively his additional 10 wounds.
Right.
So there are ways to kind of make him trickier to kill. Is he... You know, the thing is, I think if you're including him, you have to build around him. You're either going to build around him by buying all of the stuff which is going to heal him.
Yep.
Or you're going to build around him by having all of the stuff that's going to benefit from him. I personally would have him, 2 units of 10 Triarch Praetorians, a unit of 10 Lich Guard, and then just some Immortals and a couple of characters to support.
Because it'd be cool.
Just him floating forward, surrounded by his... I'd be awesome. It'd be really cool. I just think he's really, really nice. Just as a general thing. Is he on the cheap side?
Okay, so from someone who is like listening on an outside perspective and has a semi-understanding of how the game works, he seems cheap.
I appreciate that. I understand that. However, it's really frustrating because, I mean, so I don't know what we can tell you about playtesting, guys, but suffice it to say, we've kind of known about the book for quite some time. But things have changed since we had the final round of playtesting. Yeah, you wouldn't have wanted him in the playtest version. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. No, I know. I know all that. I know all that.
Yeah, because you were there just going, no.
No.
Is he still bringing a huge amount of bang for his buck? Oh yes. But he's a massive force multiplier that also just throws down with the best of them. I don't know. I think
time's going to tell.
Time will tell with him.
Time's going to tell a little bit.
Time will tell with him.
Okay, cool. Right.
There's 2 more sort of good units. I mean, this is the thing. There's a lot of good stuff. But I'm just going to go over to the Canoptic section of the army now.
Yeah.
Tomb Spiders! Yay! When was the last time you saw Tomb Spiders running around?
You reckon they're good?
Dude!
Tell me about it!
Dude! Okay,
Tell me about it.
So for those of you that aren't aware, Tomb Spiders used to be pretty poo.
Well, I remember in 7th you used to have that.
In 7th, yeah, they were great.
What was the thing?
It was the Canoptic Harvest,
yeah,
I think it was.
and you just had all of the little, what are they called?
You had the swarms.
The swarms running around, and it was quite an annoying thing to play against.
So, but then in the transition from 7th to 8th, so history lesson here, guys. They used to be a monster, and las cannons were great at killing tanks, but monsters were amazing because they had wounds and tanks didn't. They had hull points, and you could do multiple hull points or just outright instantly kill something.
It was a good time.
So monsters, things like Riptides, Spiders, Carnifexes, would get hit by a las cannon and go, I take 1 damage. Now, you had less wounds for that, so for comparison's sake, let's take a Riptide with 14 wounds nowadays. They had 6. And you might think, oof, that's a big downgrade. But when you're only taking 1 damage from a las cannon, not like potentially 4, 5, or 6, it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And Tomb Spiders had like 3 wounds. They were toughness 6, they had a free up save, they were pretty survivable. And then the transition from 7th to 8th, where you got like your d6 damage and whatnot, they got 4 wounds. Which was kind of rubbish.
Yeah.
Now, they're back up to 6 wounds, which is nice. So the chances of there being one shot by like a d6 damage weapon is a lot slimmer. In addition, they got so much better in combat because now they were previously, I think, strength 6 minus 2 d3 damage with 3 attacks at weapon skill 4. They're now still weapon skill 4.
Sure.
But they're strength 8 minus 3 flat 2 damage with 5 attacks.
Hey!
At 60 points a model. With living metal, with reanimation, and they've got 6 wounds, so reanimation protocols is probably never gonna happen for them.
Yeah.
However, there's ways that you can just once per game just bring a spider back to life.
Yeah, which is cool.
And you take 3 in a unit, and it's super duper cheap.
How are they going with their little scarab babies?
Oh yeah, they still bring scarab back. Yeah, in your command phase, a destroyed model from each friendly scarab swarm unit within 6 is reanimated.
Hey!
So if you've got 3 units and you've got them all within range, they can repair stuff, they explode, they can deny with an upgrade. Like, they're just a really good all-round unit. And again, they kind of lean into that thing of there's something that has to be dealt with, but they actually require a decent amount of firepower. Strength 6, toughness, or strength 6, toughness 6, 6 wounds with a free up save. No invuln, sure, but you've got to deal with them.
Yeah.
And they're not the easiest thing in the world to deal with. So, you know, I really like them. And I think the Scarab Swarms are still decent and Wraiths are still really good. Now, I know a lot of people are a bit upset about the fact that they lost their free up invuln. I get it. But look at it, guys. Everyone's losing a free up invuln. Like, your Storm Shields aren't a thing anymore. They've got a 4-up and they increase your armor save. But your free up invuln, the days of that sort of level of invuln that's easily accessible, You've still got it in places, like Custodies still have it. You can still get it in Harlequins if you're using stratagems and stuff. But also, we're talking armies that have maybe 20 models in them.
Yeah.
Not, I'll take 18 Wraiths. And you weren't seeing 18 Wraiths anyway. They got the free up save in conjunction with that now. So against your sort of your AP0 small arms fight, which was what was killing them anyway, they're still kind of the same. Sure, they suffer a little bit against AP, but they've still got the 4-up invuln. They've still got their fallback and shoot. They lost some weapon skill and ballistic skill. Fine. They gained in attack, so I think it's slightly worse off because you've gone from hitting with 2 out of 3 attacks to hitting with 2 out of 4 attacks. You're still hitting with the same amount, but your percentages have gone down, but your potential's gone up.
Yeah.
6 of one, half a dozen of another. But they went down by 10 points.
Yep. And
Like,
they're still
a scary unit that has to be dealt with.
That's when we played, I just went, right, I have to get rid of them. Like, they have to die.
They've got a 12-inch move. They pass through terrain and infantry. They can fall back, shoot, and charge. So tying them up's not in question. And you can charge them, and next turn they'll just go, okay, we'll go through you and start munching on your characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Or tying up your tanks, or capping objectives. Or in the case of some of these dynasties, contesting them, if not stealing them with OBSEC. And now they're cheaper, and they were never a killer unit anyway, in my opinion. They were always a harassment unit. They were always a unit that was designed to go, we're beefy, we're hard to shift, and we're going to cause a real nightmare. And now you've got reanimation baked in, which, again, swings and roundabouts with reanimation. I think they're still a super solid unit. Yep. I could literally talk about every single unit in this codex and find good things about them, for the most part.
And that's why it's exciting. That's why it's exciting.
And that's what really, really makes me happy about these guys. I mean, the Ophidian Destroyers, I think, have a place. I know a lot of people aren't too keen on them because they're only toughness 4 with the 4-up save, but they're cheap. You have them deep striking.
Yep.
They deep strike for free. So, a unit of 3 is only 105 points. And whatever they touch in combat is going to be in trouble because they've just got a bazillion attacks at good AP, high damage. Again, you can use them as harassment, and if they pop up and your opponent doesn't deal with them, more fool them. If they do, the rest of your army is going to be moving forward. Your Tomb Blades much the same. They're cheap, they're effective at what they do. I've mentioned your Swarms, your Triarch Stalkers, great. Like, I could literally just go on and on and on and on. However, there are some units which aren't so hot, so we'll cover those in the bad.
The bad. Now, I want you to tell me about some units that are bad, because I have a feeling I know what they're going to be.
Yep.
I have a couple.
Yep. The Monolith. I tried.
Why is it bad? Why is it bad?
The thing is, it shouldn't be bad. It's just one of those annoying things where you look at it and you kind of go, right, okay. It's 360 points. He has a huge amount of firepower. Like, I think they have a place. I really do. I really do think they have a place, but you have to build the army in such a specific way. The problem is, a 2-up save is fine, but they've got no invuln. They're toughness 8 with 26 wounds, I think. They're okay. Like, I mean, the thing is, they're supposed to be the knight equivalent. So, and I think they're on par with a knight.
Oh, well, that's not saying much, though, is it?
Is my point. But they don't have an invuln. They're slow. They've lost fly, which is fine because it never made sense that anything that was sort of hovering 2 inches off the ground could suddenly go, oh, there's a building, woo!
Yeah.
That never made any sense to me, but I get it from like a gameplay point of view. You've now got to change it up. They do throw out a lot of firepower, but because they're super heavy, they never get the dynastic code unless you're running a super heavy detachment, which now is costing you 6 CP. And you need to take 2 more of them.
Yeah.
Or 2 of the other super heavies.
And do you know what? One time we will do it because we.
Oh no, I think I will.
We do have 3, don't we?
I think we've got 2. We've got the older monoliths, guys. So you'll have to sort of bear with us on that. I think we've got 2 of them. We've got an obelisk and we've got a Tesseract Volt. Right. I'm never going to run the obelisk. It is atrocious. I really tried. I really, really tried with them. They're a really confused unit. They've got a 2-up save. They're toughness 8. They've got 28 wounds. Cool. Again, no invuln. They can deep strike. Or if they remain stationary, their guns become better. So which one do I want to do?
Right.
They've got living metal. that heals, and this is the same with the Monolith and the Tesseract Volt. They're all these big, titanic, massive things with these incredibly powerful, potent systems. They heal the same amount of wounds as a Lich Guard does every turn.
Yeah, see, that's not right.
And it's just, they should be healing like D3 or flat 3 or always count as being like, you know, they should have something more than that. And you've got the, you know, the gravity pulse on the obelisk. It's cute. In the shooting phase, select one enemy unit. One that's within 24 inches that can fly, and until the start of your next shooting phase, they're half their movement. Okay, one unit, 24-inch range. I don't care. That's the thing. I don't care.
Yeah.
And the Tesseract Volt is, again, he's cute. Like,
is he?
He's fun.
I mean, he gets the he gets all these powers and stuff.
Yeah,
That's
he's got like all of you. He's got 3 powers of the Catan, and he can do. So he knows 4 powers, and he can cast 3 of them. Fine. Your named ones know 2, cast 2, and they've got their unique ones, which are, barring the Deceivers, very good. Like the Nightbringer literally looks at someone and just removes them from existence. On average, you're taking. I think the averages are 5 mortal wounds from him, if you're within 9 inches of him. And that's before he's even touched you in combat. The Void Dragon just looks at a bit, and this will make you sad with the Void Dragon, because he looks at a knight, and on a 2+, the knight takes d6 mortal wounds.
That's too much.
In addition, the knight counts as having half of its remaining wounds for the purposes of its damage table.
That's too much.
So you've got things like that which just kind of go, that's really good. And he gets the buffed up versions of the powers, and he can cast a lot, provided that he's not too damaged. And he does have a 4-up in bun, which is nice, but he's toughness 7 because he's open.
Right.
He doesn't have any melee attacks, which I kind of get, because the whole point is the Catan's trapped.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe there should be some sort of, like, you know, like force field, like he's breaking against the chains and something, you know, there's just like waves of energy pulsing out. Give him something, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just little things like that. I mean, and that's where the Monolith's interesting, because he actually attacks in combat with his portal, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, because they used to have that thing. If you got too close, you'd take D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, whereas now he makes his D6, his 6 attacks, or D6 or D3, depending on his degradation, automatically hitting Strength 8 -3 flat 3 damage attacks, which is really cool.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so I think there is a place for the Monolith. Not so much the other two, which is a real pity, but it's just that issue of getting him into an army is either costing you a bunch of CP, because it's minimum 3 CP to get him into the army, and then he doesn't get dynastic trait.
Or 6 CP.
Or 6 CP, and then you've got to take some others as well, and then it's kind of your whole army. And I think if you ran 3 of them and then just like, and you went proper old school, like 3 of them and just tides of Necron warriors, it would look really cool.
Yeah.
And it would be like proper, and there'd be a little bit of my heart just going, ooh, 3rd edition, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. But it's just, I think when you look at it, you kind of go, there's things that just do it better.
Yeah.
And it's just such a shame. It's such a shame. I tried.
No, it's all right.
I tried. You know, and there's some tricks you can do with the Monolith at least, you know, because he can deep strike, and then if you're running them as like, if you are running 3 of them, you could deep strike 2 of them, and then because they're Novok, you get +1 to your charge, which is funny.
Yeah.
You know,
Piss.
eat everything.
No, yum.
You know, and they can bring in units from from like the Tomb World. But again, it's got that really weird. You know, sort of, I don't know what I want to be doing. I could deep strike in, but I have to remain stationary to bring them in from the Tomb World.
Well,
It's just, oh, okay, like, why? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. And because they're so large, because they're massive models, and they don't have fly anymore, which again, I get, moving them around a table is going to be if you're playing on a proper board with sort of, you know, your 14 to 18 bits of terrain, moving them around is going to be an absolute nightmare. They're going to be going 6 inches a turn.
Yeah.
And their guns are 24 to 36 inch range, depending on what you got. That's okay. Like they're okay. I mean, they're
still bad.
Yeah, they're still not great.
They're not good, and I don't think that. Quite frankly, I don't think they make ugly. Like we're really trying to make allowances for them here at the moment. But like I've just after listening to it all the more, I just go no. From a purely competitive point, of course.
Yeah, I still think I still will try and run like a big phalanx of sort of super heavies and just go, I'll take the 6 CP cost, it'll be fun.
We'll do it. Well,
Yeah.
you know, but this is the other thing as well. Like, you know, we talk about the book's viability. I know we're slightly going back to good here, but it doesn't feel, I mean, sure, you can make bad lists, but they just feel like the bad lists that were really bad don't feel as bad anymore. And that's just kudos to a book, a good book, really. So, cool. All right, what's next?
Well, off the topic of the Catan and the Vault, and I've mentioned the name Catans are really good. Unfortunately, the Transcendent Catan is not. He's just, I mean, he's cheaper than the others. He's 80 points cheaper than the others. He's only 207, but you're still limited to 1 Catan per detachment. And he's too random. He's too random. He's got D6 damage in combat.
Random.
Yeah.
It's just so random.
Yeah. He's D6 damage in combat.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating. Now, I understand that the Nightbringer's D6 damage in combat if he does his big chop, but the Nightbringer is strength 14 when he does that, not strength 6. He's -4, which is exactly the same. The Nightbringer is also ignoring inbuns, and you do not get to shrug or ignore wounds in any way, shape, or form. So he's not as good in combat, right? No. He knows 2 powers. Well, your named ones know 2 powers, and one of their powers is their named power, which are usually better. But he can only cast 1 power unless you choose Cosmic Tyrant on your table, because you get your D6 table, and your Cosmic Tyrant lets them cast 2. But all the named ones can cast 2 anyway. Yeah. So they know 2, one of which has to be their own. So he's got a little bit more flexibility in his known powers, but you've either got to pick your Cosmic Tyrant to cast the 2, or you've got to roll for it. And if you roll for it, you might get some stuff that's kind of not useful. He doesn't bring or do anything. Yeah. Like
that other people can't do. Yeah. And actually, like for the points cost, you go, do you know what? I'm going to pay.
Yeah. I'll find the 80 points.
Yeah, exactly. to you know. If that's what what I want to run.
Like if you want him for sort of anti, like big thing hunting, I'll take the Nightbringer. If I want him for, some of his aura, like there's a really cool aura here where it's like at the start of your movement phase, you roll a d6 for each enemy. Well, I say it's a cool aura, it's actually not. It's really short range. Each enemy unit within engagement range, so that's an inch, takes a mortal wound on a 4+ and models a -2 to charge him. Now, if that was like a 12-inch bubble, you'd be like, okay.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. So now he just walks forward, like the ground's like cracking and breaking. People try and charge your lines. He's just going, no. Like,
yeah.
You'd have an interest with him. Untamed Power. He increases his attacks to 6 and his strength to 7. Well, that's the Nightbringer.
Yeah.
Transdimensional Displacement. He can Deep Strike. That's the Deceiver. And the Deceiver has a built-in -1 to hit him and redeploys 3 units.
Yeah.
Sentient Necrodermis. So the Deceiver can't Alpha Strike anymore. They can't redeploy outside of your deployment zone anymore. It's still good. And you can put stuff in strategic reserves for free, which is nice.
That is nice.
So you can go, I can't Alpha Strike you turn 1, but I can just hide stuff and bring them on from the side, which is cool.
Which is nice.
Another one of his things is Sentient Necrodermis. He has a free up save. Well, that's the Void Dragon, but the Void Dragon also brings a shooting attack, better powers, and more combat ability because of his spear and his tail. Cosmic Tyrant, you can cast 2. All of the named ones can do that. The only other interesting ability is Immune to Natural Law, where he basically you can only ever wound him on 4s. But he's toughness 7, so you were hitting him with big stuff anyway.
Yeah.
It's kind of, for 80 points less, he doesn't bring anything. But again, it's a tricky one to balance because you kind of go, he's still got Necrodermis, so he's still tough to shift. He still explodes and he still does all these mortal wounds and he's still decent in combat. I just can't find the justification for 80 points. If he was sort of 100 points, maybe like around the 240 mark, I'd be like, okay, now he's an interesting choice because I'm paying a real premium. I just don't think 80 points is premium enough to make him worthwhile. So he kind of needs a points drop, or his fractured personality needs to let you sort of choose 2 rather than rolling for 2.
Yeah.
So he is unfortunately not an interesting one.
No.
Sadly. So yeah, that's him in the elites. We'll go over to the heavy support. The Annihilation Barge is still pants. He got more shots, fine, but he doesn't do anything that the rest of the army can't do. If the Destructor, the Tesla Destructor, was damaged 2, I think he'd have a place. Strength 7, no AP damage 1. Sure, 10 shots with Tesla, but It's 1 damage with no AP.
Yeah.
I can't, and I think he's quite expensive as well. What is his points? Annihilation. It's 120 points. I mean, he's not terribly costed, but I just kind of look at that and I go, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, there's a couple of good things. He's got 8 wounds, so he doesn't degrade. He's got the quantum shielding. He's small enough that you can maybe hide, but he wasn't doing anything previously. He's not doing anything now.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. The Lords. Now, I think Overlords are they're just a bit too expensive. They're like nearly 100 points base. My Will Be Done is nice.
Yeah, My Will Be Done is very good.
But it's +1 to hit on a core unit. You've only got 5 core units. So you've got your Lich Guard, you've got your Tomb Blades, you've got your Warriors, you've got your Immortals, and you've got...
Destroyers.
No, they're not core.
They're not core
They're Destroyer Cult. What are they called? Death Marks. So you've got 5 that you can give My Will Be Done to. Don't get me wrong, it's a great ability, but he doesn't really bring a huge amount to the table. Other than that, by the time you've given him like an orb and things like that, he's not amazingly survivable. He still only has 5 wounds. 5 wounds. I know he's toughness 5, but 5 wounds? He has the same amount of wounds as a Cadra Fireblade.
Yes, he does.
It's very upsetting.
It's not spread.
He's okay, is my point. He's okay. You need one because you want a noble in your army. You need at least 1 noble in your army, otherwise you don't get command protocols, which I will be coming to. I just don't think he brings enough. And his buddy, the normal Lord, is much the same because he picks a unit to reroll 1s to hit. But again, it's a core unit, and I am okay with that. It's just. I could take a Triarch Stalker and give reroll 1s to hit for my entire army against a unit that I so choose.
Yeah.
So the advantage of the Lord is that he's a noble, so if your Overlord dies, you've got another command protocol giver.
Yeah, which
is pretty important. It is pretty important. And the orbs are expensive, but I do think they're pretty darn good. But you kind of have to take them for the sake of it. Now, Catacomb Command Barge, I think, is very different, however, because I think he, for like the 40 points more than a normal Overlord, upgrade him.
Yeah.
You still can't be shot. Sure, you lose out on a couple of sort of defensive abilities, like, the Lich Guard can't intercept shots from snipers against him, but he's got quantum shielding, which is huge. He's toughness 6, he's got 9 wounds. He's a vehicle, so he can shoot into combat. I really want to try out a barge with the Voltaic Staff Relic. So it's basically it's a damage 2 Tesla Staff of Light, which is also damage 2 in combat as well. You give him the Tesla Underslung, so he goes into combat and he just goes, and then he just chops you down. So I think he's definitely got uses, but the guys on foot I just think are kind of rubbish. Don't get me started on the Tachyon Arrow, or Tachyon Arrow. Forgive me, random person on the internet who I said it wrong once. It's a once per game D6 damage weapon.
Yeah.
It's just... And the relic version of it is the most insulting relic ever.
Why?
Because it's a once per game damage. Okay, it's damage 6, which is cool.
Bruh.
It's damage. Yeah, I'm not killing anything with that.
Maybe
once per game. Great. So they're kind of like a necessary evil, the Lords and the Overlords, because they aren't what they used to be. Which is fine. They're just a bit expensive for what they do, but you kind of have to have them because they give you the command protocols, and you don't need them to make the army function, but you're missing out on a huge amount of stuff by not doing it, so you'd be foolish not to. Flayed ones, sadly, I just don't think are very good. They're cheap.
I was kind of hoping for a resurgence of them.
Yeah. I mean, they're cheap. -2 leadership to people within 3 is cute. -1 damage, -1 AP is cool. And obviously they can deep strike in and things like that. And every unmodified 6 is 2 hits instead of 1. So, you know, they're a real blender unit. But they're not core, so you can't buff them up. You can't give them the extra moves, so you kind of have to deep strike them. They're cheap enough that they're a harassment unit, but I can't bring myself to find a place for them. Again, it's kind of like, what do? Right, well, they kill infantry in combat. Great. So does a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
For more efficient.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's for the price of 3, because you could take 3 Wraiths, which is 105 points, all with whip coils, so then they do double attacks at -1 damage 1. So they do that. Sure, they're only strength 4, and they're not getting like extra hits, and they're only weapon skill 4, but a unit of 3 for 105 points is chucking out 24 attacks, if you want an infantry blender. They can fall back, they can charge, they've got a 4-up invuln, they've got a 3-up save, they've got toughness 5, they've got more wounds. For the same amount of points, you can take, I think it would be 1, 2, 3. For the same amount of points, I think you can take 8 flayed ones. So you will have brain. Come on now, you will have 24 attacks with the chance of doing it, and you're still at strength 4, and you're still at weapon skill you're still at weapon skill 3. You're still AP -1. You got the 4-up save. You got the toughness 4. It's sort of swings and roundabouts. The issue there then is that your Wraiths are just faster. They're literally twice as fast. They can't deep strike, but a 9-inch charge on deep strike is a risk.
Yeah.
It's a massive, and if you don't make that charge, your opponent just goes, oh, you're moving 5 inches. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for playing.
See ya.
Yeah.
Enjoy your 10-inch charge next turn because I've got a 6-inch base move and you've got 5. Whereas your Wraiths, you kind of go, oh, I'm not going to get away from them. No. So I don't see a place for them.
Yeah, I agree.
And we'll stick with the elites. The Reanimator. I really tried. I can't. It has no purpose. It is the only way outside of the relic to get you +1 on your reanimation.
Right.
But it just has no purpose. It's 110 points. It is now worse from the Indomitus. So the Indomitus version was a 9-inch range.
Yeah, I remember.
Now it's 6 inches visible.
Okay.
Because your opponent, any opponent that you go, yeah, I'll do that on my Lich Guard, your opponent goes, cool, I'll just attack everything else. Okay, well, I'll use my 2 CP stratagem to move the beam over to that unit that you shot. Great, now I can shoot your Lich Guard.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I think, he doesn't have a place. He does not have a place. I think if you're taking him, just take more models.
Yeah.
It's just that there's no need for him. He doesn't have a place, which is such a shame because he's an awesome model. But yeah, he doesn't bring anything to the table. And the last bit is in the bad section, and then we'll move on to ugly.
Sure.
Is flyers. I'm not a fan of the flyers. They're very flimsy. They're quite costly.
Flyers in general, though, isn't it? Really?
It is indeed. It is, and that is a common trend that we're seeing, and this is what we said in the Space Marine one. Is flyers are quite expensive now. Now because a lot of people were very excited about the Doom Scythe, and I understand that. I mean, flat 3 now on his death ray, strength 12 -4, D3 +3 damage. Okay, what's not to like? This is everything that we want in Necrons. Consistent anti-tank. Yeah, but 200 points, nah. I mean, toughness 6. No, thank you. 12 wounds. 3-up save. He just gets looked at funny and he dies.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to have him right in the corner.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. How far is he moving, though? He can move up to 60, I'm assuming.
50.
Still. 50, right. Okay.
If he's undamaged.
He's still going to...
36-inch range on the death ray.
Yeah,
so
he
should...
hide.
You can't really hide from him. But, I mean... Also, smaller boards, you're going to be in range with most of your anti-tanks. Unless your opponent has only brought, like, multi-melters as their anti-tank, he's going to be shot at, he's going to be degraded, so he's going to hit worse. You could strategically reserve him for 2 CP and have him deep strike in, which might have some uses. Well, that's where you can use him in conjunction with the Deceiver. You have like one of them, and then the Deceiver just goes, no, we don't have first turn. You go into strategic reserve. Come on next turn.
Yeah.
I think there is some play for him, but his base thing is just yeah. Like he should in theory be good. I think he's just a few points more expensive. Not much. Like we're only talking about 15 points. And then you want
to shave 15 points off.
It's controversial.
Yeah.
Because the problem is, and this is the thing with a lot of flyers are not tough enough to survive
turn one
nowadays.
If you don't get first.
If you don't get first turn. Because most flyers are low toughness, low wounds, low save, no invuln. They are reliant on that -1, which is just not enough anymore.
No.
If we were back in the days of sort of 7th edition snapshots where you could only ever hit them on 6s, fine. Obviously, that's when I would say, cool, they need to start going up more.
Yeah.
But at the moment, when your basic infantry just goes, oh, that's a flyer, I hit them on 4. I mean, I'm not a fan of flyers in the game anyway. I don't think they belong in a normal size game, same as Titanic stuff. I would rather save that for massive apocalypse games.
Sure.
But they're still really cool. They hold a place in my heart because they're croissants.
Yeah,
I just can't.
The damage output is good though.
It is, this is the thing. They're a massive glass cannon.
Yeah.
And you just kind of go.
I totally get it. For 200 points,
is it good enough? I don't know.
Because you want to run more than one at that point.
You almost have to.
Then that's 400 points. And yeah, if you go second against an army which has the correct
enough anti-tank,
that's it.
Yeah. So
remove the model.
I will try them. But I mean, I'm not gonna hold out much hope for them. And
same with Night Scythes?
Same. So Night Scythes are a little bit less bad, in my opinion, than the Doom Scythe. And obviously, this is all just opinion, guys. I mean, they're a lot more interesting now because they're an actual transport.
Hey!
Finally. And there is some really cool stuff that you can do with them in regards to, like, bashing them up the board turn 1 and going, I'm going to bring in units from strategic reserve and like teleport them in and stuff like that. Obviously you can't get out after you've moved, so you've got to move into position. So that's exactly the same. But at least now when it dies, your guys are jumping out of it rather than I die.
Yeah.
Or I spend a CP to walk on from my board edge or whatever it was. It wasn't great. Now they're an actual transport, which makes them a little bit better. Obviously, the Tesla Destructor received an increase, but again, they just have the same problem of they die.
Yeah.
And they've got increased transport capacity, so you can take 20. It's a temptation to run 20 warriors in there, all with Reapers. The temptation is real, but if that Night Scythe is killed, your warriors are now in your zone, and you are 145 points down. If you get turn 1, great. If you don't, and that's my problem with them. If you get turn 1, great.
Yeah.
If you don't, and you cannot rely on turn 1.
Yeah.
If you don't get turn 1.
Yeah, that's flyer transports in general.
Yeah, agreed.
Unfortunately. I think, you need, they're one of those things where you do need a massive distraction card effects for those sorts of units to work. So maybe if you are taking a Deceiver or something like that, you know what I mean? Then at that point they go, well, I've got to start working on that. And then suddenly you're going to, turn 2, if you get turn 1, they're going to have 40 Immortals mid-board and you just go,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I like the Night Scythe.
Yeah.
I like it, but I appreciate your point of view on it as well. Yeah. Like, I get it. I have a question, one that we haven't talked about. I'm not sure it's on the list. How are you feeling about the Ghost Arcs at the moment?
I quite like the Ghost Arcs.
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of people were hoping that Open Top was going to come back. It didn't, and it makes sense that it didn't. Guys, they're too busy being fixed up.
Yeah. What are they doing with the reanimation?
So now, in your command phase, you pick a friendly Dynasty Necron Warriors unit within 6 inches, and D3 models reanimate.
That's pretty cool.
Which is pretty nice, yeah. So each unit can only be selected for this ability once per phase. So you can use that in conjunction with a Technomancer with Rites of Reanimation to bring back basically 2D3 guys. And there's a stratagem to make that D6 instead of D3. So again, and a lot of people are going like Silver Tide, I think, is really good. I am not massively sold on it just because the cost of the Warriors, I think, 13 points is too much. 13 points is too much. I would rather they be cheaper than what they are, but also have worse stats because they're just meant to be the citizens. It's like with Guardians. Like, slight tangent here. I don't think Guardians should be ballistic skill, weapon skill free, because they're just militia, but they should also be cheaper.
Yeah.
But also there's that fine balance of, well, then you'd span them, you know. So if they went, okay, we'll make warriors 10 points, but they're weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4. I'll take 60.
Yeah.
That's only 25% of my army. You've got to chew through all of that. And it's a very tightly balanced line there.
I'm happy with how they are.
I like them. I like them. I don't think that they're going to be the be all and end all that a lot of people are saying. And again, this is just opinion, guys. And if you want to go like old school Silver Tide, it's going to look great.
It'll look amazing.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see it, and I'll try and run it as well because we've got loads of warriors. You know, and I'll run it and see. And it may change my mind, but I think a mix of the troops is the way to go for me. That's just personal preference. But I like the Barge. You know, he brings good firepower. He's tough as nails.
Yeah.
He ferries a unit around. You can do some really silly stuff like. Because he can transport 10 Dynasty Necron Warriors or Dynasty Infantry character models. So you can do a Scorpec party bus.
Yay!
So you can't transport...
We'll call it the Venga bus.
Yeah, you can't transport non-Scorpec Lords, and I imagine this is going to get FAQ'd, guys, but the image of 3 Scorpecs just hanging on, just going... Ah! Like off the side of a ghost, and all the guys inside are just like, oh my god, who brought these guys?
That's something that Khan would like.
Exactly, and he'd see that and be like...
Yes.
I approve.
Yes.
Now let us fight. You know, so I think they definitely have a place. They are a good unit, but there was just so many good units.
Yeah, it's one of my, for me, Necrons, that's one of the most iconic units, just personally.
Sure.
Like, I don't know why, but whenever I think of Necrons, I think of that.
Fair.
But yeah. Well, look, I mean, we kind of ended on a good in the bad there, which is...
This says a lot about that book and how excited I am.
I'm enjoying, like, I mean, I'm just being your sound. I'm enjoying this. This is good. I'm enjoying this a lot. I don't have much to add.
I realise that I'm kind of dominating the conversation.
Listen, I'm totally... This is brilliant. This is really good. Well, you know...
Well, when it comes to Tau...
Yeah, well, then that's... Yeah, I actually might just do it by myself.
Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll do, like, it by... We'll both do one by ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of opinions on Tau, and they were my second army.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do them concurrently and see who can talk about them the longest.
We'll see. That will be a
the challenge.
But for now, that's the bad dumb.
Yes, there is some ugly.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We'll be right back. And now it is time to speak about the ugly.
So we will address the protocols in the room, the reanimation protocols. Now, I am a fan of these guys. I know a lot of people aren't, and I know a lot of people are. And this is why they're an ugly, because I don't think I've ever seen a rule quite so divide a community. Let's take, for example, Chapter Master. Back in the good old days of a year ago, and it came out and everyone just went, this is ludicrous. And you had people going, I play Space Marines, and this is ludicrous.
Yeah.
When you have things like Savior Protocols, and you kind of go, yeah, it's the only thing really keeping a Tau army sort of alive, but even Tau players go, I hate it so much because it's the only thing that we can do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of rules that are super duper frustrating that are kind of, it doesn't matter what side of the table that you're on, you kind of go, yeah, it's dumb. This, I've seen this, I've seen arguments for, I've seen arguments against. Now I'm in the for camp. I really like it. And the reason why I like it is because it makes you feel like Necrons again. It also harkens back to 3rd edition Necrons where you'd like lie them on the side and then you'd roll for them and they'd stand back up, and it was called We'll Be Back. Oh, it was great. Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, it was literally called We'll Be Back.
So good.
It was great. You know, so you had...
Do you know what? I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember being like a young little child, right, and seeing all these, like, this guy roll and like picking them up like this, and then like there was that makes more sense to me now. Yeah.
And I get the frustration when it comes to the multi-wound models. I mean, we you know, you're talking minute percentages. You know, the maths has been done, and I think if you kill a single destroyer or any free wound model, it's a 3.6% chance of bringing it back because you need to roll 3 5s or 6s. Fine. How many were you bringing back if the unit was dead? 0. Because that's how you had to do it. And there were times when you would get it, and I've had those games where you had 1 destroyer and he was on 1 wound and he brought 4 of his mates back. God, that felt bad for your opponent, though. Like that, it was a really cool, fluffy thing back in 8th edition, but it was not well designed because anyone that had half a brain could just deny it by just killing a unit, which is what you kind of want to do anyway. So the minute that the unit was destroyed, you weren't getting to use your rule that you were paying points for, and that's why I did not like it. Your opponent had to either have never played Necrons before, not have the firepower to deal with the stuff, or rolled so obnoxiously badly because they weren't exactly difficult to get rid of. And then it might kick in, and then you might bring back like 1 or 2 destroyers.
Yeah.
Now I understand you're probably going to bring back less, and an opponent's going to go. This goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Your opponent kind of has to chip away at them and go, right, I'm going to shoot at them, but I only want to kill 1, so that you've got less chance to reanimate. I'm going to shoot at them, but I only want to wound them, so I can kill it next turn without you reanimating and things like that. I get it. However, over the course of multiple games, and this is the thing, when you look at the stats and the numbers and things like that, I get it. It doesn't look pretty. But over the course of multiple games, and this is the thing, you need to, as I say, have the book and play some games. It will it won't necessarily balance out. You know, you're not suddenly going to be getting those sorts of games where you go, well, I lost 3 destroyers to a round of shooting, and then I rolled my reanimation and I brought all 3 of them back. That's literally 1 in thousands of a chance.
Yeah.
But there will be those games where you just roll super duper well, and you just go, wow, okay, this is really good. And there'll be games where you roll really, really badly. Just like the previous version of the rule, but at least now you've got the chance to roll for something that you're paying points for.
Yeah, I agree.
Having said that, and you will use this as the example, destroyers, specifically Lockhurst destroyers, so that your shooty boys, they are an ugly. They're way too pricey. They're 55 points still for a weapon that has not changed. They've lost a lot of buffs. Extermination Protocols is worse. However, I'm okay with that because it was way too good to begin with. Way too good to begin with. 1 CP to reroll everything. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was one of those stratagems which was necessary given where the book was.
Exactly.
Now that the book has kind of been reanimated,
yeah,
you don't need it. You don't need as much. So
it's still a really powerful stratagem.
It's reroll wounds, right?
It's reroll all wounds, yeah.
So you're still rerolling ones to hit because you are hardwired to hate everything.
Yeah, you hate everything. Yeah. You know, so it's still, you can't give them the plus, and I think that's the thing. You can't give them the +1, and then you can ignore the +1 and give that to someone else.
Rerolling all the wounds.
But you're rerolling all the wounds. It's still really solid. It's really my issue with them is the fact that they're still bad range. They're slower. The D3 damage is just awful. I hate D3. I hate all random damage weapons, which leads me into the Doomsday Arcs in a moment. So using them as an example of reanimation protocols is obviously a key one because that is one of the units where I think they have dropped the ball. You're paying the points for reanimation protocols, which is already difficult enough to achieve on those units if your opponent has the right sort of, gauge of it. But you were paying high amounts of points for them to use a rule that would very rarely come up. And it's just, I think the thing is reanimation protocols is kind of, it forces you to have a army design shift. What worked in the 8th edition Codex does not work now. That's par for the course with edition changes. That's par for the course with Codex changes. Things change, they update. Will destroyers get a points drop? I hope so. I hope so because I don't think they're going to release like an errata going, oh yeah, make them flat 3 damage or make them strength 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
They might. I don't think so. Or increase their range to 30 or reduce extermination protocols to 1 CP. I don't think that's going to happen. But when you've got things like your Munitorum manual, I think that's when they might see like, right, okay, well, I mean, it's not working. We'll bump them down a little bit.
Yeah.
When your Scorpec Destroyer is 35 points for the same stat line, obviously only melee based, but more consistent damage because it's flat 2. Just as Fast doesn't have Fly, but Fly is not as useful because I can't fall back and shoot anymore. It's just, yeah, I get the trepidation with those sorts of units. Where Reanimation Protocols is really good is because, one, it gives you a chance where you had no chance before.
Yep.
It's great on your 1 wound models. It's still good on your 2 wound models because here's the thing, guys.
This is a pool.
It's a big old pool. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying that they would like to see it so that even if you didn't get the full wounds back, you just bring them back with however many wounds you got. No.
Too much.
It'd be way too much. Like, actually play it like that, guys, and you'll realize, oh, no, it's too much. It is, it's way too much. Because at that stage, you need to, you will never, almost never kill Necron units that have more than 2. Because, I mean, if I'm running a unit of 10 Lich Guard and you kill 3 of them, and I go, right, cool, there's 3 5s. Well, you killed 1.5.
Yeah.
Now, I could easily roll 4 5s there. I could easily roll only 2 5s there, in which case I'm in the same boat as I would be with the normal reanimation protocols.
Yeah.
But the difference between bringing back half a model or, 1 wound on a destroyer is actually massive. Having it like that, I understand that would make it obviously incredibly powerful, but I think it would tip it over the edge. I think, and you know what? It's one of those things where you kind of go, yeah, but oh no, I've already play tested it like that, chef. With my friends using the leaks and the rules that haven't been officially released yet, and it worked fine. Now play 10 games. Now play 20 games. Now play 30 games. It'll become too much. It'll become too much. And I don't want any book to be broken. And I think that would push them into the broken territory. It'd be too much. So I like them because it's cool, it's fluffy, it's unique. It gives you a chance where you had 0 chance before. But I understand why some people don't like it.
Yep.
Now,
I prefer it personally.
I think it's much better than what it was. It's much better than what it was. Is it what it could have been, or is it as amazing as it could have been? No. A lot of people are saying, oh, why didn't they just give him the reanimation protocols from 7th edition? Or will that 4-up feel no pain? No. Come on now.
Too much.
No.
It's too much.
Look, that's them. On the protocols basis is command protocols. Your reliance on characters, you need the nobles, which I sort of have mentioned earlier on, amazing. So it kind of forces your army design. Having said that, again, I really like them.
Yeah, me too.
Because they offer something that no other army has really got at this stage, which is like not gotcha moments, because I don't like gotcha moments, but they've got something where your opponent goes, right, well, I know that one of these 6 protocols could be in play, and then it's one of these sub-faction of rules. Which one's it going to be and when? And your Necron player's there like an evil genius just going, woo, ha, 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 ha. Now, it will take some getting used to because some of them aren't amazing. Some of them are really good. Fall back and shoot at -1 is phenomenal, but you have to use it at the right time. And that's where I think a lot of people don't like it, is because you kind of go, but Ultramarines do that all the time. Yeah, but that's their army rule, or that's their chapter tactic rule. This is your army rule on top of your chapter tactic. But they've got doctrines, which is active all the time. Sure, but you know that's coming. Your opponent doesn't know that if they charge you next turn, you're just going to walk away.
Yeah, it's stressful, man.
And
I don't like it.
I really like it.
I mean, I like it from your perspective.
Yeah.
I don't like playing against it. I don't like surprises.
You don't like surprises at all.
No.
My issue with it is the fact that it is reliant on you need to have a noble alive, which is frustrating, but I get it from a fluff point of view. It's frustrating that you need to have a character nearby, which again, I get from a fluff perspective, because like the noble sort of like activates it, he sends out the engrams and it bounces around like, his lessers and his inferiors and his servants and stuff. But things like Triarch Praetorian should always have it, because they literally only answer to the Silent King and they just rock up wherever they want. Why are they suddenly listening to this random noble who's because the whole point is they're overriding like, sort of built-in ways of warfare. Yeah. Triarch Praetorian should always have it. Lich Guard should always have it. And Canoptic should always have it, because they operate without the nobles being there. Yeah. So I think it's one of those things where even if they had a stratagem, once per game stratagem saying like, you can have this on everyone on the board. Yeah. Cool. Or a stratagem which allows, because My other issue with them is that they're definitely going to be something that's easy to learn because it's relatively simple what you want to do roughly when, but they're going to be difficult to master. And to a new player, they can be quite punishing because if they pick the wrong thing at the wrong time, they just kind of go, oh, great, I've wasted an army rule.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like turning around and saying, right, okay, well, here's my orcs. I can pick to have Daka active, but I have to pick which round it's going to be active in. And you'd probably go, well, I'll take it in battle round 1. But what if you can't shoot anything?
Yeah.
I'll take it in battle round 2, but what if you want to be charging the stuff? So or you get charged, you're going to lose it. It's something like that where you just kind of go, if you make a mistake, it's really awkward. So a stratagem that would allow you to change it would be really good. Just something to ease the stress of it using it. Having said that, it's also really cool and fun to always learn that sort of stuff. Yeah. So you should take that as a challenge.
Yeah. And I think I'm kind of leading more towards this your second point.
Yeah.
With that, like a stratagem would be nice.
Yes.
But also.
Yeah. It in a way, it's like the redeploy stuff. Redeploys are really powerful
if you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing with them.
I did one once.
But a lot of people use, and I've used them as well myself. You deploy and you go, I've made a terrible mistake there. I have to redeploy.
Yeah.
So it's a crutch. Having a stratagem to chop and change the protocols won't help you learn how to use them, in my opinion. It's something that it's something that you'll have to get used to, and it's something that people adapt to, and it's something that people will learn, and they'll kind of go, right, well, if I've got the first turn against this particular style of Necron army, chances are they're going to be using X, Y, Z protocol directive. I can work around that. Again, that shows, you know, it's something new and interesting that we've never seen before in the game, and that's why I really like it. Yeah. But again, it's in the ugly section because there's a few little issues with it, and I understand why people don't like it. So that's kind of like the main sort of parts of the army. One final part in terms of the sort of the overall army that's a little bit ugly is the division of the sub-factions. So I've mentioned your core, you've got your Destroyer cults, and you've got your Canoptic units. Yeah, like I get why it's been done. I understand why it's been done. I understand why people don't like it. So like your Destroyer cults not having core. However, the only real abilities that they're getting from core would be things like the fallback and shoot from the Warden, which admittedly would be really good, but you have a command protocol for that. Plan around it. Don't rely on something that's going to happen. +1 to hit, admittedly, would be great.
Yeah.
Reroll 1s to hit, you've already got that. Reviving, okay, with rights of reanimation, sure, I get that. I get why it's been done because there's some buffs that would be a bit too much if they applied to everything, or if you go, oh, make Destroyers core, and you kind of go, great, I'll always take a Royal Warden because I can fall back, shoot, and charge.
Yeah.
You know, okay, well, why don't you take a, why aren't Wraiths core? Because I can make them reroll 1s to hit really easily, which is a bit much.
Yeah.
When you've got your other buffs on top of them. I like the fact that there's the subdivision because Destroyers are ironically now the only way to get rerolls to wound, because that's from the Scorpec or the Lockhurst Lords. So they all have their own unique niches. I think the main issue comes from the fact that you can't just automatically bring a core unit back to life with rights of reanimation. That's kind of what it boils down to. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if there's something else that I'm missing. But for me, that's almost what it feels like. It feels like people are just upset that they don't get to bring a Destroyer or a Canoptic unit back for free every turn.
Well, and I mean, I kind of get that because, you know, especially Destroyers, like that's what everyone's been using.
And because they're so expensive, I get it. And especially when you kind of go, and this is a part of why I think people are very annoyed about it, is because you kind of go, but Chef, Space Marines can do that with ATVs. I know. Yeah, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, we've spoken about that already.
And I think that's another thing as well is the fact that, oh, but you know, core was kind of said as being a balancing factor of you know, rerolls and buffs everywhere, and it looks like they've done that for Necrons but not for Marines. Well, one, you've got to account for the fact that literally in the fluff, the nobles despise the flayed ones. They hate the Destroyers. They literally use them as cannon fodder. They just go, yeah, just send them off and hope that they don't come back because I can't stand them. And the Canoptic stuff is literally just servants. They are not core parts of the army. A Space Marine on foot is a core part of the army. It just happens to be that they have 90 of them on foot.
Yeah.
The beauty of the core keyword is all it takes is an errata to go, yeah, remove that, add that, remove that, add that. Oh, Eradicators, no, remove that core. Aggressors, remove that core.
Yeah.
Bikers, yeah, we don't like that anymore. Dreads, oh, it's a bit much. Yeah, we'll remove that. We just have to wait and see. But I get why. There's a few things in here which I kind of go, I don't feel like they need it outside of, again, kind of these fringe cases which to me almost feel like it would push them over the edge into the broken category.
Yeah.
Like if you could take an 80-point Technomancer who could revive a destroyer every turn for free. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I only need one to be brought back and he's basically paid for himself.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, at that point you kind of go, sure, you can have that. He's now 130 points.
Yeah,
or something like that. You know, like there has to be a give and take, and I think people just want all the give and none of the take from their rules. So that's kind of the overall sort of ugly on the armies. Unit wise, there are a couple. I've mentioned the Lockhurst Destroyers.
Yeah.
I did mention Doomsday Arcs a bit earlier when it comes to random damage.
Random
I tried
damage,
so hard.
Random damage is just an inherent problem in the game. In
It's
my
the
opinion.
fact that it's random shots as well.
Yeah, and that's too much. That's too much. If you're gonna go for random damage, fine. Then you need consistent shooting to balance it out.
Yeah. Just make it 3 shots.
Just make it 3 shots. Or it's like I said today, I've been playing knights.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about like swingy weaponry,
Random everywhere.
it's just everything's so random, and so it's very difficult for you to actually like make a plan. Based on mathematics or to move in a certain way or to choose a target, because it's so swingy that averages, you have an average, but also it's just the potential in either way is so it just ruins everything. And Doomsday Arcs are like a floating gun.
Yeah, the Doomsday Arc is literally described in the fluff as being able to one-shot Titans. But it's like with railguns.
Yeah,
railguns like, they literally turn a Lehman Russ inside out. Don't know what railgun that is.
Yeah, it's certainly not one I've
like
ever used.
when you look at the averages of a Doomsday Arc, assuming that you stand still, you've got 3.5 shots, which will translate to about 2 hits, which against most things will translate to just over 1.5 wounds. They will probably not get a save unless they've got an invuln, and then so it'll be 2d6 damage. Well, d6 plus a half damage. Obviously, you wouldn't actually account for the halves. This is just pure mathematical average. Very, very quickly off the top of my head, you are talking about 5 wounds. It's
Yeah.
It's just, and
You're paying, you're paying. They're not.
I mean, they're not. The thing is, they're not bad.
They're not super expensive.
They're 190, but they're tough. They've got that's another thing.
And they've also got quantum shielding.
They've got the quantum shielding, which again I know a lot of people don't like. I love the new quantum shielding guys.
I don't understand why people don't like it. It's amazing.
5-up invuln is great. The transhuman all the time is great.
I like to transhuman all the time.
I think again it comes down to that thing of going, but those times where you just flat out ignore damage on the roll of a 2 was hilarious, and you kind of go, but how bad did that feel for your opponent? How swingy was it? Because against damage 2 weapons you weren't really doing it. Not to mention the fact that you basically do the same thing just by rolling a 5 or a 6 now, and also you're harder to wound, so it's kind of
it's way better.
I think it's 10
way
times better.
I don't understand the argument.
Someone do the maths for me and tell me why mathematically it's worse. I can't see it. I think it's brilliant, a brilliant change. But so they're tough. They've got good anti-infantry with the flayers. They've got loads of wounds. They've got good armor save now. That the quantum shielding keeps them alive. I think where the issue with the Doomsday Arcs is because the big cannon is blast, so you tie them up, and obviously fly isn't a thing. You have to have that protocol in place to fall back and shoot, and then obviously you're using the rubbish profile, which is just even worse than the big profile. All they needed to do was make it flat number of shots and keep it a blast so it can't fire into combat. And keep it a d6 damage with flat number of shots, or make it much better on damage. Make it d3 plus 3. Make it flat 4 damage. Make it d6 shots, flat 4 damage, and you kind of go, because now I've got the chance of actually going, I've just blown up that tank off the board. And this is the thing, with swingy weapons like that, there are times where you go, and I've had it before, where the Doomsday Arc's just gone, there's a knight.
Boom.
6 shots, 6 hits, 6 wounds, 18, 24 points of damage, he instantly dies.
It happens.
It does happen, but you're talking, and this.
But I would prefer the consistency.
I want the consistency.
Over the randomness.
I want the consistency.
Yeah.
You know, so they're an ugly for me because unfortunately they have a role which is long-ranged anti-tank. They're just not very good at it, and the problem is you need long-range anti-tank because that is one of the downsides of the army. And all armies should have a downside.
Yeah.
And the downside of the Necrons is they are quite short range. They want the mid-board, and they do that quite well. They've got a good amount of firepower, good combat. They've got the speed in certain areas, but they need the support from distance, and they don't really have reliable support from distance. So that is a downside.
Yeah.
And it's just there's just too much random stuff in there. So, you know, that's them. There's a couple more units which I think are a bit ugly. The Hexmark Destroyer, Mr. Gunslinger. He's cheap enough, but I mean, he's not killing anything.
Nah.
Not really.
No.
6 shots at strength 6, -1/1 damage. And he gets to shoot again for every model he kills. I think...
It's like Kel.
Yeah, but Kel gets it if he hits, and he's damaged too.
Yeah.
Sure, he's lower range and lower strength, but
he pops up in your lines anyway.
Now, he does have some uses because you can use him to sort of deep strike in and use that for your command protocols now. So that's handy. And again, he's something where you kind of go, right, well, if I don't deal with him, he could be a nuisance. But 75 points, if I want something that's going to be in the backfield causing harassment, I'll try and find 30 points more and take some Ophidian Destroyers who are going to be tougher to kill. Sure, they aren't shooting, but the devastation that they can reap in combat is just much better. I'm not sold on him. It's a shame because the model's kind of cool-ish.
Yeah, I like it.
Ish.
Yeah.
You know, I think if he was damage 2, then we'd be talking. Or if he did mortal wounds.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean, his rules are good. You know, he always hits on 2s and he rerolls 1s. He can never be modified. He always hits on 2s in Overwatch. You know, he's cool. He's cool, but he doesn't make me go, I want to run one and see how he does. I just kind of go, I might for fun if I've got 75 points lying around.
Yeah.
But if I've got 75 points lying around, I'll probably bring another crypt tech of some description.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's them.
Yeah, he's just one of those units.
And then finally, we will talk about the Convergence of Dominion. So this is the obelisk units. They look amazing. They're pretty cheap. They provide something which literally counters one of my main problems, which is you need characters for command protocols because they spread the command protocol ability from them. They just don't do anything else. And they're pretty easy to kill. And they're vehicles. So bring it down is a problem. I mean, they're toughness 8. They've got 10 wounds, so they are only worth 2 points for bring it down.
Correct.
They got 3 up save. They've not got like quantum shielding or anything like that, which is fine. They shouldn't really. But you know, they've got like a cute little pistol, which is D3 shots at strength 4 -3 flat 3 damage, 12-inch range though. Fine. Yeah. They give you a bubble of your command protocols, which is good. As well as +2 leadership, so morale becomes almost a non-issue if you're near them.
Yeah.
And you can teleport them around the battlefield with a cryptech, but your cryptech needs to spend his entire turn doing it. So it takes you your turn. So you will have your like auras and stuff back next turn. And I think you start it in your movement phase, so it's an action. Let me just check this whilst I'm here. Yeah, the end of your movement phase, a friendly cryptech unit from your army that's within 3 inches of any friendly Star Stealer units can start to perform this action. The action is completed at the end of your turn, and then he disappears, and then your next turn he comes back.
Right.
So again, you kind of have to plan ahead with it. My issue with it is it's 120 points to basically make your army rule a bit better, and to kind of that's it. Because he's a building and he's a fortification, so you can't like teleport him onto objectives. Yeah. You know, he gives you a leadership buff, which is fine, I guess. Your leadership 10 anyway. They don't. Again, they look really cool. They just don't bring much to the table, and they're an ugly unit because they kind of could do something a bit more interesting. They just don't. Yeah. They just don't.
I think ugly is right, because I can see how they could be used to great effect.
Yeah, I can see a use for them because you'd have them set up and you have them because you dot them 12 inches along your sort of battle line. And you use them as your command protocol sort of giver, and you have a cryptech just go, right, okay, well, I know that in turn 2, I'm going to be hitting combat.
Yeah,
and I know that I've written down Hungry Void, which is going to give me the +1 strength on the charge, but I'm not going to have any characters supporting my Scorpex and Wraiths up there. So what I'll do is I'll just go bonk and smash him up there. The problem is it's next turn and your opponent can go, well, he's rushing me with Scorpex Destroyers and Wraiths, and he's just teleported one of his Convergence that give command protocols, which is probably going to be a +1 strength thing. Spread out.
Yeah, well, you know, it depends as well.
It does.
Obviously.
It does.
Like it's an easy thing to counter, obviously, but you know there are some armies which can't.
Yeah, and
it's I think I know what you mean. It's almost like it's ugly because in an all-comers list, you're probably not going to take it.
He doesn't. Yeah,
That's it, because you know, like, because quite rightly, probably 50% of the time, it's a very easy thing to counter.
Yeah.
If you're playing your mates and you know that you're playing a particular army, there you go. I'll chuck that in. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it just depends what you're playing.
And
like, I can't see them being a massive tournament thing, but in fun games, cool.
They're cheap enough that you can do it, and it's sort of one of those things where your opponent might feel like he has to divert some attention to them because they will brain, come on now, because you know they will give out the command protocols, and whilst they can't hold objectives, you can park one on an objective, and then that means your opponent has to charge them, and then they might get shot, and then they just get teleported out. But then also they're almost like a drop pod in that respect, where you just kind of go, if you teleport them up and your opponent goes, oh thanks, I'll be immune to your shooting next turn.
Yeah.
It's a shame because they're really, really cool. I just don't think that they warrant inclusion, which is a shame because they look they're one of the nicest sort of bits.
I think they look great.
They're one of the nicest sort of fortification models that have come out in a long time.
They look stunning. I'm really big fan of how they look.
But look,
that's it.
The book is it's. I am very happy with this book.
Yes.
I know some people aren't, and I appreciate that, guys, and I understand that, guys, and we'll talk about it in the comments. We will.
I think it's great.
But I think it is a really good book. You just need to give it some time. You need to have a little bit of a rethink of your strategies, and you know, just give it a chance. You know, if you're an old school Necron player, you're loving it because there's lots of sort of harken back to old school rules. You know, there's a lot of cool things, and you have so many more tricks and variety now that makes them far more interesting and dynamic and fresh to play with. I think there's a lot of scope for them to be high placing in tournaments. I think they're going to cause a lot of headaches for people because they just have a lot of tools in their kit. Are they 8th edition Marines broken? No. Are they 7th edition Decurion broken? No. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think, and I mean this with the greatest respect, guys, if you wanted that as the army, you were always going to be disappointed because it was never going to happen, quite frankly. No. I would like to think that mistakes have been learnt from the 8th edition Space Marine 2.0. That's still up in the air based on discussions on the internet. Time will tell. And time will tell with this book. I could be completely wrong, and in 6 months' time I turn around and I go, man, they're just not there. They're just not there. But I
think given the 2 Codex releases that we've had, though, it feels like they're
there. I don't think that's going to be an issue. And you know, again, there's a lot that I want to say. There's a lot that I can't say. The precedent that these books and the Space Marine book give, so you know, I am very excited for what it means for the game as a whole, and as a Necron player, I am extremely happy. If you're not as a Necron player, let's chat about it in the comments. Yeah. Let me know why. Like, but give like, you know, sort of, and again, I don't mean this disrespectfully. Don't just say it sucks.
Yeah,
like I saw that a couple of times on like the preview game.
We can't work with it sucks. Tell us why it sucks.
You know,
tell us what you're worried about.
Yep. Yeah. And I think I can't remember the name of the guy who commented on the game. Forgive me, but you know, he said like, oh, so it sucks, and I was like, well, elaborate on that. And he gave me some really good detailed points, which I've actually incorporated today. And it kind of made me go, oh, you make a good point. But that first sentence, that 4 words meant nothing to me. But by putting some thought and actual, discussion into it, we can have a good, have a good chinwag about it all.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of, let's have a good old polite discussion about it.
Yeah.
I for one am excited. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why you agree. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Guys, thank you so much as ever. This has been the good, the bad, and the ugly for the new Necrons Codex, with Chef essentially and me listening in. I found it very interesting.
The tables will turn, guys, but it's
No, but the thing is, I always knew that this was going to be a bit more like it. You know them backwards, so, I found the whole thing very interesting. I hope you guys did as well. So until next time, it's been me, the Bone, Chef, the Overlord himself, and we shall see you all very, very soon. Bye.